Oh, that's a
Do you
bold claim,
not?
sir.
Yeah.
This is like, where you're sitting at a bar with your buddy and he orders a beer and he orders a beer for you and you're like, I don't drink beer anymore. And you just both awkwardly stare at each other.
Okay, I'll tell you what, there's going to be an episode on what are you talking about and why have you gone nuts?
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Beyond Deadlines podcast, where we tackle challenges that planning and schedule leaders come across on a day-to-day basis. My name is Micah, and I'm a planning and scheduling manager for Intel.
My name's Greg Lawton, and I'm the CEO of an AI schedule management company called Nodes and Links.
Each podcast is designed to give you strategies and tactics that you can implement right away. Today, we're going to go on a little bit of a different format and share the hot seat. We will be putting each other through the ringer by each asking a question in a quick-fire manner and then answering. Greg, since I did the intro, hopefully you have a question ready to go. You can fire away.
Resource loaded schedule or don't?
Resource loaded schedule, if I can do it. And the caveat to that is I wouldn't resource load everything. I would go to superintendents, I would query them, I would try and find the top 5 or 10 things that they're concerned about, and that's the only resources I would track. And if it became burdensome in the schedule, I would track them someplace else. All right. Critical path. Is it dead?
No, God no. No. And this is proposed by people who don't fundamentally understand it. Critical path, I'm gonna get a little deeper. Critical path is like Newtonian physics. It works for most stuff if you don't look at it too closely. It works for very high level schedules, so you can generally trace stuff through. It doesn't work for very deep, detailed schedules because you get lost in individual itty bitty tasks. It also has been proven recently in a paper by Nature to actually only be half of the equation. So, long story short, the equivalent of quantum mechanics critical path has been invented, and that is what AI is learning from. So I'd say critical path isn't dead. Everyone should still understand the theory, but it isn't the be-all or end-all. There's many different flavors of it. Use it appropriately. If someone comes to you and says, I've run a critical path on my 200,000 line schedule, I'd be like, shut up. Did I answer?
Fair enough. I think I'll take that. This is like a job interview, though. You don't get right or wrong. We're going to let the crowd decide who's right or wrong.
Okay. Question to you. Do you learn how to get promoted? And let's say you want to get promoted as fast as possible. Do you learn how to do more advanced schedule analysis techniques like QSRAs or delay analysis or predictability analysis? Or do you instead learn how to better apply for jobs and perform in interviews? You can only pick one.
This is because I would do neither.
Tell me if you do something else. Tell me if you do something else.
Let me answer I'll answer the question. I would say how to perform in job interviews and interview. If you are already scheduling at a job and you're looking for a promotion, unless you're going from a junior to a senior role or somewhere in the smaller scale of things, I think technical skill is just, in today's world, it's a dime a dozen and being looked at less and less and less. And your people skills, your interpersonal skills, those are being looked at more and more. So if I had to choose, I always choose people skills, interpersonal skills. What I would do is I would find someone who is recently promoted and I would figure out exactly what they did to get promoted. Then I'd do what they do. Every company is different. Every process is different. Go follow the leader. They'll take you to the promised land.
Perfect. And just for the listeners here, the reason I was asking that question is this is actually one of the biggest fallacies that I see people make. They think that to be able to sell a car, you need to be able to build a car. None of the people that sell cars know how to build cars. They know how to sell cars. Micah, your choice?
Exactly. Let's just loading back up on more coffee and water because this is hot. I love it. If you had to choose one, which would you prefer to have in your schedule? Constraints or lags?
I would rather have constraints. And I'd rather have constraints because it's easier to take them off. and constraints are a direct reflection of a contracting strategy or a build strategy. So I could do on or off constraints, whereas lags are much more built in or integrated into it. So it's much harder to unpick the logic of them.
All right.
Mathematically, lags are better than constraints, but practically, my personal opinion is I'd rather have constraints than lags.
I'll take that. All right, what do you got for me?
How many schedules do you run at once for one project?
How many schedules do you run at once for one project? I would say, depending on the size, you're looking at 3, potentially more. You're going to have something out in the field that is more short term in the production, lean, pull planning method. You're going to have a medium level, which is a general contractor that has milestones and activities, and then you'll have an owner's level schedule. Now, in each of those different levels, there can be loads of other schedules that are just like those. So you could have loads of subcontractor schedules, loads of general contractor schedules. You could even have supplier schedules, but generally you're looking at a 3-layer cake.
Do you not think there's a variance to that 3-layer cake where you've got things you show people outside versus things you keep internal in your scenarios and that kind of thing?
I mean, if this was a full episode, I go super deep into it, but yes, there
Okay.
depends what layer you're partnering at. If you're a subcontractor, you may not want to reveal all your cards to the other subcontractors and the GCs. If you're another GC, you may not want to give all your cards out to the owner and the other GCs. If you're an owner, you may not want different GCs and subcontractors saying what they're doing and what their work is. I got to the point in my career where I'd just rather do it transparent, like whatever with secrecy,
It's
and honestly make
work,
it
isn't it?
I know, and make it I love competition. I just thrive on competition, and I would love if when everyone walked into the job site, there was just leaderboards of like who is being the most predictable here on site, and let them go at it.
Yeah.
All right. Question for you, sir. What activity codes, do you think are absolutely necessary in a schedule?
From whose perspective?
Let's make this you are an owner.
As an owner. Okay, we could do a full episode on that. A million questions, but for me personally, and this is coming from someone who's analysed lots and lots and lots of schedules to figure out what's going on, I would say that the key activity co-structures, number 1 is professional function. So, job like concreting, structures, prelims, this kind of thing. Number 2 is any geography, if there is different geographies. Number 3 would be who's doing it. So technically an OBS, but I put it on like which supplier or which teams or managers are on them. And then the 4th one I put in there is base scope versus change, actually, just to make it super, super easy to filter and play around with those variables. Other than that, obviously, you and I know that the WBS is the most powerful. So this is after the WBS, but I would go from then. The reason I go for
do we? I don't know. That's a bold claim, sir.
Yeah.
This is like, you're sitting at a bar with your buddy and he orders a beer and he orders a beer for you and you're like, I don't drink beer anymore. And you just both awkwardly stare at each other.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, there's going to be an episode on what are you talking about and why have you gone nuts?
I may have.
Well, I'll just explain those. Like, so, why would I say those 4? Well, department, so I could measure department performance. Geography, because I want to know the performance between different geographies. Supplier, obviously, I want to know the performance of different suppliers. Why WBS is number 1 is because That's how you measure progress normally across the generic project base, which is why I think you've gone insane. But okay. And I can't remember the last question.
Oh, good ones.
Final question for you. Tell me honestly, how much are you learning or shitting the brick for AI coming into scheduling?
Learning.
Like real hard?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm full learning mode right now. You know, to me, I've always been, I remember being out on site 10 years ago, and there were people that were complaining about switching between Microsoft XP and Microsoft 2004, and I'd already downloaded it. There is, I just, to me, I'm a learner, and I like to go out there and see the technology and experience what is there. I don't think at the end of the day, this ever takes away people's jobs in the planning and scheduling world. And I've even experienced this in my small kind of scientific experiences I'm running with this episode. So I've created my own GPTs that help with creating these hypothetical examples that also help with creating episode titles. And what I'm finding is they will provide you a set of information, and then you still need a human to come through it and pick. And if they're tasks that absolutely a human doesn't need to do and doesn't need it, then they should be eliminated anyways. And they probably could be eliminated with regular code and not AI. It's just that we don't, in the construction world, get access to the greatest coders and programmers of the world. They're off working on Snapchat and TikTok. And so to me, I think this is wonderful. And people should be picking this up and using this as much as possible. Super, I mean, productivity wise, through the roof on some of these things. Even like a simple example is, I'm going to wrap myself out here, but I was coaching my kids' soccer team one afternoon, and man, I just cannot think of this full email to write the parents and all the perfect languages, but I know photos are going to be at 5 o'clock. They need to wear the jerseys, and they need to bring, this pamphlet check. I just type it into ChatGPT and boom, there's my email. And I didn't sit there for an hour writing an email out. So yeah, definitely get into it. Go explore it. Go experiment with it. It's only going to help you out. I mean, compared to everything else you could learn, I don't know why anyone would sit and take their PMP or get their SPI certificate. A year in AI, I mean, you'd probably transfer out of construction and like be a, I don't know, man. So I'm not worried about it at all. I think it's better to dive into it, and it's not going to take away. Here's the thing. When you have this massive of a shortage of planning and scheduling resources to begin with, you're not just going to one day turn over and eliminate the field. This is not going to happen.
Yeah. It's like there's many crypto's going to get rid of fiat currency. Oh yeah, is it? Okay. Let's see the day the US gets rid of the dollar. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Well, folks, this was a quick one. Rapid fire QAs. Let us know in the comments if you thought this was a great format. Please subscribe to our channels. We're on YouTube. We're on Spotify. We're on anywhere you can find a podcast. Hit the subscribe button. It helps us keep going. We also have a newsletter that we send out every single week. We include multiple planning tips in it, interesting jobs, and a recap of the week, all sent to your email box on Monday, so you can go out there and absolutely crush the week. Greg, before we jump off the show, any final thoughts?
If people want us to answer questions, send them in.
We love challenging hypothetical situations, and I especially love them when they're targeted at Greg instead of me. So with that,
so all you have to do is just email Micah.
You can actually find our emails pretty easily. Yeah, find Greg on LinkedIn and ask him. All right, folks, have a great week, and we'll see you on the next one.